Welcome to the Peaceful Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Rosensweet, mom of 3 young people, peaceful parenting coach, and your cheerleader and guide on all things parenting. Each week, we'll cover the tools, strategies, and support you need to end the yelling and power struggles and encourage your kids to listen and cooperate so that you can enjoy your family time. I'm happy to say we have a great relationship with our 3 kids. The teen years have been easy and joyful, not because we're special unicorns, but because my kids were raised with peaceful parenting. I've also helped so many parents just like you stop struggling and enjoy their kids again. I'm excited to be here with you today and bring you the insight and information you need to make your parenting journey a little more peaceful. Let's dive into this week's conversation. Welcome back to another episode of the Peaceful Parenting Podcast. Today's episode is a coaching episode with Julia. Julia is actually in my Peaceful Parenting membership. So she's kind of a seasoned Peaceful Parenting pro, but she was having some trouble. And she was having some trouble specifically with one of her daughters who is 8. She has 2 daughters who are 8 and 10. And she found that the peaceful parenting approach to helping a kid who's upset or is having a meltdown worked really, really well with her 10-year-old. But she found that her 8-year-old wasn't responding in a way that she expected, or that's sort of like the textbook, quote, textbook case of how kids will respond when we use the peaceful parenting tools and strategies with them. So we did a bit of a deep dive into some possible reasons why it wasn't working for her 8-year-old, and we came up with a new approach. And so this was really great because I love how it shows that even those of us who, quote, know what we're doing, and as I mentioned, she's been in my membership for a couple of years, she knows her way around peaceful parenting. And so even though she does, quote, know what she's doing, she was still having a hard time with her 8-year-old daughter, who's an intense kid, and she just didn't really know how to support her daughter through these meltdowns. We had a great session where we came up with some ways that she could adjust her response to her daughter when she's upset and some things that she needed to look at within herself. So have a listen and do stick around to see how it worked out for Julia and her daughters. And I think that you are going to learn something, whether you're new to peaceful parenting or whether you are a seasoned pro like Julia. Before we dive in, I want to let you know about something super exciting that's coming up. I am hosting a free challenge. We're calling it the 5-day Peaceful Parenting Reset. It's 5 days of simple tools and strategies. We're going to choose one tool a day to reset your parenting. And this is going to be great whether you're new to peaceful parenting or a seasoned peaceful parent. You're going to be able to get a fantastic start, or you're going to be able to get back on track with this 5-day challenge. I know we've all been having a really hard time. These last 2 years have been brutal. And on top of living through a pandemic, it's just hard being a parent sometimes. So if you feel like you could use a reset, definitely check this out. It's free. We are going to have 5 days of actionable tips and strategies that are going to be quick and easy to implement. They're going to be sent right to your inbox. We're also going to have daily live short lessons with Q&As every day, Monday through Friday. Again, we are starting Monday, April 11th. So you can sign up at sararosensweet.com/reset, R-E-S-E-T. As I mentioned, you're going to have access to me every day in our Facebook group with daily live short lessons and Q&As. There will be recordings if you're not on Facebook. You can also send me questions you have or challenges you're having. I really want to be here for you in this 5-day reset. It's going to be so great. And if you're worried you won't be able to fit it in, we've designed this to just take a few minutes a day to fit into whatever life looks for you right now. Again, you can join us at sararosensweet.com/reset, R-E-S-E-T. If you are listening to this and the week of April 11th has already ended, you can sign up for the waitlist at that same address to be notified the next time we have a reset. I hope you can join us. As I mentioned, it's free. It's 5 days of actionable tips designed to fit into a busy lifestyle. We are going to really get some quick wins here. And I've done this before. I did it last year, and I got such great feedback from parents who really, really loved just being able to just get refocused in a way that was really easy to do. So join us at sararosensweet.com/reset. And let's meet my member, Julia, and hear how she needed to tweak her approach to peaceful parenting with one of her kids. Hi, Julia. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you and hear all about how I can help you today. Can you introduce yourself before we get started?
Yes, my name is Julia, and I'm an American living in New Zealand, raising 2 girls. We have Elle, who is 8, and T, who is 10. And I reached out because she's a very hard time with big emotions. I've been practicing peaceful parenting since she was probably 2 or 3. And when she gets very upset about something, she is all of the things that I kind of know and understand do not work with her. She feels very uncomfortable with her big feelings and with me kind of working to support her through them. And I feel very stuck with that.
And what does that look like when her big feelings, how do they come out? And just maybe give us a little bit more detail or maybe an example.
Okay, so let's say that L and T have a blow up over a doll or something. Usually it would be when they're tired, it's at the end of the day. And what will generally happen is there's a big fight, a big blow up, and Elle will run to her room just exhibiting all of the big emotions, crying, yelling. And I go in and I'd say, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I can see how upset you are. And she will cover her ears. She hides herself in her closet. And I can say I feel fairly confident in saying this. There is very rarely any blame, any like, you shouldn't have done that. What are you doing? And she's unreceptive to any support, any kind of comfort. It's challenging to say the least.
And so then what might happen? So she covers her ears, she hides, and then what might happen?
She'll allow me in the room with her. She will not even entertain the thought of my partner being in the room with her. But I know now, like, not to leave her. So I kind of sit, so she says, don't come near me. Don't come in the closet with me. I'll sit like outside the closet and I will say, I can see you're really upset. I'm just right out here when you need me. And it takes her quite a while, but she will kind of, I kind of like check in with her, like, I'm still here, I'm still here. And then when she kind of gets out all of the initial big emotions, then she will come out, but then she will not talk about it. And I try very hard to lead with empathy. She does not want to have it. I have had success a handful of times where I have said, I can see how upset you are. I'm so sorry you're having such a hard time. You must have been really angry. Like if she hit or kicked or something, like you must have been really angry to do that. And you can see her, it makes her just physically uncomfortable. But when I have had success, she can kind of like work through that. And then she has like what's described as like the emptying of the backpack, and you can see that it's not like the angry cry, it's like the release of all of those kind of emotions. And then after that she's spent. But in all honesty, so she's 8 now, I think that's happened maybe 3 times. It's very hard to get her to that place, and I'm not even concerned about making a repair. I'm just concerned about like helping her through these difficult feelings.
Right. So just to do a little vocabulary here for people who you're well versed in peaceful parenting, for anyone who's listening, when we say leading with empathy, that means that when you are talking to your child about something that's happened, you start with acknowledging their point of view, like what you said, Julia, of you must have been so upset to do X, Y, or Z. So what that does is lets her know that you don't think that she's a bad person. Because sometimes when we correct, especially our really sensitive kids, when we correct them without acknowledging their point of view or leading or empathizing with them, they can get shame triggered and really respond poorly because they feel like, not only are they upset, but now my mom or my dad thinks I'm a horrible person, right? So that's fantastic that you're doing that. And the other thing that you mentioned, which is the emotional backpack, which is a metaphor for our bodies where we hold on to or store big feelings or tensions or emotions that we can't process in real time. And sometimes when those can build up, they can make us, cranky, irritable, more prone to tantrums and meltdowns, more difficult. And so emptying the backpack means allowing for the tears to come or the laughter. Laughter is also great. And I actually want to touch on that to process those feelings. So you said she's done that 3 times in her life.
I mean, she's like a guided kind of that
Right.
emptying. I mean,
Okay. Where you were able to
yes, she
help her with
certainly
that.
empties her backpack,
Okay.
um,
Okay. So what about when she does empty her backpack, we'll say not guided, what does that look like?
it looks like it's very hard to watch, honestly. I mean, if she does it through crying, it's a actually when she usually empties her backpack kind of unguided, it would generally be from an incident that didn't have something to do with her sister. Let's say she had a tough day at school or something, then it really comes home and it's just that like kind of release of all of the stuff that built up at school and has been kind of building.
Okay, so that's really good information. It's not that she can never cry about things. It's just is it specifically having to do with her sister where you're seeing these?
I would say so, or if she perceives, I did actually forget to mention this that I would say she's quite sensitive. If she does perceive something that myself or my partner has said to her, and she's kind of taken what you were saying, like taking that personally, like thinking that we were saying that she was a bad person. Generally, in those instances, if it's kind of within the family unit, that's when she tends to really struggle.
Right. Do you think that she just generally has kind of a harder time than her sister? Is life harder for her? Are friend things harder for her? Is school harder for her?
No, she's very outgoing. She's very friendly. She is, however, very sensitive.
Mhm.
So maybe in that regard, life is a bit more challenging. But
Mhm.
in kind of the typical ways, I would say she's pretty average.
You don't get the sense that she sort of feels like the black sheep of the family or anything like that.
No.
Okay, that's good. So I'm just trying information gathering here. I'm just wondering if maybe it's okay that this happens, that she is taking her time. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have an expectation for what the classic parent supporting the child is supposed to look like and maybe it just looks a little bit different for your kiddo.
Yes, that makes sense. And I mean, because all I know is what's worked and what we've done with our eldest, and all of these tactics work really well with her. She's really receptive to them. She can process everything. She can talk about how she was feeling. All of those abilities are there. And I mean, maybe this is where I'm struggling so much is that they're so different. And,
Yeah.
my proven approach with our eldest is not working with our youngest. And I feel like a fish out of water. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I feel really lost. But I think my biggest concern is that I'm doing her a disservice, that I mean, frankly, that I'm doing it wrong, or maybe not wrong, but that I'm missing something. And that, yeah, I guess that I am really just doing her a disservice and not able to support her how she needs
Mhm.
supporting.
That sort of an image just came to mind of, that level of intensity of making eye contact with somebody when you're upset. Like
Mm,
sometimes, if you're really upset, it just kind of you want to look down, you want to like fiddle with the tissue while you're crying
mm,
because it just feels too raw.
mm.
And it's like a self-protection. Maybe, okay, raise his hand. So
Yeah.
that's how I feel when I'm really upset. Like I need to protect my emotional self a little bit by even if I can be with someone and crying with them or talking to them, it would be very hard for me to look that person in the eye.
Mm,
And because I just feel like I need to protect myself a little bit. And I wonder if that's a flavor of what you're seeing, that
mhm,
she's so sensitive that it just feels too raw to really like let you in on it. But even if you are actually doing enough just by being in the room while she's in the closet or covering her eyes, let me put it another way. Really sounds like you're showing up for your daughter. And it may be that there's a mismatch between what you think
yeah.
good support looks like or receiving good support looks like and actually what she needs.
Mm. I think that that's the case. And I also think that I think that I mean, we all do, but I think that she feels really uncomfortable with vulnerability, which
Mhm.
is what happens when you're, crying and you're really upset, not past the angry part. I think that she feels this is where her sensitivity I think comes into play, where she doesn't want to sit with that kind of feeling of vulnerability. I mean, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the write up, but she She cannot tolerate people apologizing to her even. And I finally I asked her, I feel like maybe it was kind of an unfair ask because why does this make you feel this way can be kind of a tricky question. But I said, you know what, I get the sense that you are feeling uncomfortable when I'm apologizing to you. And she said, I don't like the way it makes me feel, which seems so foreign to me because someone is kind of making a repair with you and saying, you know, I made this mistake. I'm really sorry. I love you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to make you feel this way. But she can't.
Well, but if she's deeply empathetic, then she's going to feel your pain and regret and remorse. And
Yes,
that could make her feel uncomfortable.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So
I do think that's what it is.
sometimes when we apologize, we're doing it for ourselves more than for the other person because we want to feel better about the
Mm,
pain that we've caused.
mm.
And so maybe you could sit with yourself a little bit more before you repair with her and really do some caretaking of yourself so that when you come to her, you're not feeling as bad about it.
Yes. See, and this is where the tricky thing is that these events tend to happen around bedtime because you know we're tired and it's been a long day. So my concern, depending on how I'm feeling, is I don't want to kind of leave it. Like if I do, I understand your suggestion and that makes sense to me. But if I reflect and kind of get myself in a better place, that would mean that I wouldn't be able to apologize to her until probably the next day. And that kind of feels like it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
How distressed is she in an example?
If it's at bedtime and I kind of let the frustration with the, let's say she's having a hard time and I say, you know, oh, could you please just put your
Yeah.
pajamas on?
I'm
And
done.
then,
Get your pajamas on.
yes, like, and then that turns into a big upset. That's, you know, the tipping point for her. She is generally, because she's tired, she is pretty upset. And she can say to me, like, and she has actually said to me, I feel like when you say that, you think that I'm a bad person, which I feel like I don't want her to go to bed thinking that I think that I feel that way about her. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel this real sense of urgency to like make the repair. And as soon as she says that, I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't. I can see where I've made the mistake or dropped
Yeah.
the ball or whatever analogy works there. But yeah, I guess I am kind of going into the apology to absolve myself.
So maybe you just need to take a quick, 2 minutes. I'm not talking about like an hour of soul searching to give yourself your own forgiveness, but just take like a couple of minutes and just say, everyone makes mistakes. I'm human like all of the other parents out there who get frustrated at bedtime. And just take a couple of minutes to just work through
Mhm.
it yourself. Give yourself some compassion.
Yeah, I can do that, and I feel like I'm on the right track with that, with recognizing it and then being able to apologize. I feel like I don't want to ever skip the apology because
Mhm.
that feels so important. A, to make the repair, and B, to model that, because making repairs, as you can guess, is quite tricky with siblings. Is it ever okay to, I don't want to skip the repair, I guess. I don't want to skip the apology. Is
Are
there
we
a
still
way to
talking
kind of,
about between you and
yeah,
her?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What about just something simple like, "I'm sorry, Bubba. Let me give you a kiss goodnight." Do you think
Yes.
that's too much?
No, 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 no. I think she would be much more receptive to that than,
Yeah,
like, I can tell that I know that I hurt your feelings and you don't deserve to be talked to like
yeah.
that or something.
You may just have to simplify things with this kiddo a lot and,
Mm,
be with her when she's because so going back to the first example where she gets upset at her sister and storms off to her room crying and screaming, and you go in there, you might just have to say, like, if she's in her closet or she's covering her head, you might just have to say something like, "Hey, Elle, I'm here."
I think that makes sense. That I think that would probably work. Yeah, so if she just needs kind of the the entry level empathy, or the entry level apology, because it's still there. The support is still there. The repair is still there. It's just not
Yeah.
the flowery language, the
Yeah, and
the
and it's
deep
the
work.
equivalent of of too much eye contact. It's just maybe too intense, you know? Like what I was saying before, like sometimes people need a little bit of space to be with their feelings. And it may be that, okay, I'm going to use a strong word because I can't think of a better one, but I don't mean it as strong as it's going to sound. It may be that your apologies and your empathy are a little intrusive for her.
No, that makes sense.
And I don't mean that's such a negative word, but it may be that you need to just, it might work really well for T and that she needs that level of intensity.
Yep.
But L already has enough intensity in her own self. And, what we're thinking of here is how can you co-regulate with her, which is what empathy does, right? Like I'm here
Mm,
with you, feeling with
mm.
you, and you might just need to bring it down a little bit.
Yeah. Just be there. Because I think that you're right, because I think that she can really sense that. Isn't there a term for that where they is it the same, the co-regulating?
Co-regulate. Yeah.
She can, oh, that's hard because I really like to talk. So I would never be like the calm, like, I don't know, what's like a stoic, calming.
Well, it's not stoic because stoic is like, I mean, sort of unfeeling, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's more like a little bit of you need to have yourself a little bit more contained is
Yeah.
my sense of it.
Yes.
She can feel you and she's got enough to deal with her own big feelings that she's got going on.
Hmm. So, on the flip side of that, if she has an angry outburst, because that makes perfect sense to me when she's upset, I can do that, just pull it back. But what's your suggestion for how to handle that for when she's angry?
What do you typically do now when she's angry?
Right now, I have no idea what I'm doing because nothing is really working. Let's say, oh, she got very upset because she thought that T had lost her new doll's belt. And she's just inconsolable and angry. And from my experience, I don't say to her now, like, I can see how upset you are, because that's like fuel on the fire. So now I'm kind of staying close, but not saying anything. And then the tricky thing is trying to talk to her when she kind of appears to be calmed down, or at least not visibly like upset and angry. But then it's like, she's reminded about, the missing belt, and then she just gets mad all over again. But then I think her unwillingness to have a conversation about it is not necessarily coming from the same place as when she's sad. She just seems like incapable, really, of moving past those feelings of anger.
Well, how much time will have gone by in
Oh, this
this
would
case?
easily be like half an hour, giving her time to, I mean, being around her, but kind of giving her time and giving them space, like not having the sisters by each other. Yeah, I mean, it did take us a while to find the belt. She found it on her own, but every time it got brought back up, there was just that re-upping of those emotions of that anger.
She had unfinished business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that has like a deeper meaning? Like, was that representative of something between them where she often feels like maybe her sister doesn't like consider her feelings? Or I'm just wondering what it could have been more about than the belt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, there has to be there has to be that level of sibling kind of like there has to be that layer there. But I'm not sure if in this example that I've used, I'm not sure if that's just because it was the new doll, like the new, brand new, really beloved doll, or if there's something deeper going on. I don't know.
Hmm. Because it's interesting that even after the belt was found, she was still angry about it.
I think she felt like T was disrespectful with her things.
That's what I mean. That it was like representative of something else.
Yeah.
And was that acknowledged at the time?
It must have been. I mean, we must have talked about it, but she can be so explosive that it's very hard. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, the sad, the angry crying, I can really I understand much better how to deal with that. But then, like the just pure outburst anger, I have a really much that I really struggle with how to support her during that. And it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it triggers me, and I feel very frustrated, and I don't know how to. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing her a disservice because I have to kind of pull myself back to get myself together, and then I'm leaving her kind of flailing.
But you have to do that you can't help her if you're also dysregulated.
Yes.
So you do need to pull back and regulate yourself, whatever that looks like. And so I think that don't put on your plate. Now you also feel bad that you had to dysregulate or you had to take time to regulate
Mhm.
yourself, because then you won't actually truly be regulated.
Yes.
So, that just that sort of that nursing the anger about the belt, like just did they use the belt example? Like I wonder if maybe nobody did make her feel understood about her sister feeling like her sister disrespected her stuff.
Mm.
Because kind of otherwise, why would she still be angry? Like if she felt understood and the belt was found, what would the anger be about? Unless you think it's just like a full backpack issue and that she's just got this reservoir.
Could it be both? I
Yeah,
mean,
sure, it could be both.
I think that, yeah, we've had a hectic year. Well, last year was a hectic year. And yeah, that makes sense because if she's got a full backpack from the move that we did and starting the new school and all of those new scary things, plus if she's not feeling heard, understood, any of those things, then that's it.
Yeah. Backpack emptying. Is she easy to get laughing?
Yeah, I think most of the time we have, admittedly, we have slacked on the roughhousing special time, those kinds of things. Again, it was very straightforward with our eldest, with T. Elle is just a bit more, yeah, I mean, she's a different kid, so I need to know I still haven't totally figured out the things that work with her, I guess, to get her
Hmm.
laughing and to get her kind of engaged and, yeah, releasing all of those tensions.
So I would focus on that. I would try to do, after school. What I would love to see is two laughter rounds a day, if you can do it. And
Mm,
it can be also with tea. Like you don't have to get Elle alone, but to
mm.
do some sort of like laughter roughhousing for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, if you can, 5 or 10 minutes in the afternoon. And then the times that she does cry, like you mentioned that if she has a hard day at school, she might come home and cry. Lean into that because laughter and tears really, that's the most effective way to get that backpack emptied, especially for a child who doesn't really want to talk about their feelings that much. Because she is old enough that she can start to talk about her feelings, but she's so uncomfortable with vulnerability. And I don't think that's anything that you did wrong or that there's something you should have done differently. I think she's just so sensitive that it's
Mm.
like she's more tender than the average person. And so being vulnerable is harder for her because there's more soft spots, right?
That's a great analogy. That's really good. She's got more soft spots.
Hmm. It's harder to show those soft spots.
Yeah.
And I think as she gets older and you keep talking about feelings, that you wrote in the questions that you answered for me, that you talk about feelings all the time, which
Hmm.
is wonderful. And she'll be able to start as she's getting older, she'll start making more connections in terms of how she experiences life and the things that you've talked about. And I think she's still maturing. The other thing about the explosiveness is that I've read that sensitive kids can take a lot longer to develop impulse control. So, she may just have some lagging skills in her self regulation, basically, because she's so sensitive.
Oh, that tracks.
Hmm.
Yep. That's like a light bulb. Honestly, that makes sense for both of them,
Hmm.
actually. But
Hmm.
yeah, particularly for Elle. It's interesting though because they're both when the seas are calm, if you will, they can talk about feelings and emotions with, I mean, I'm biased, but with what I think is great insight and great depth for someone who is 10 and someone who is 8, but I guess this just plays in because they're not hijacked, right? They're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can have great emotional intelligence and, depth of feeling and understanding of emotions and still have trouble regulating them.
Right. Yes, that makes perfect sense now while we're talking about this. But in the moment, I feel utterly baffled because I think, right, but they're still just kids. I have to remind myself. But it's so tricky because the insight and the clarity that they have when they talk about it, I think like, oh, this is great. We're ahead of the game, or at least we're ahead of the curve where I was at this age.
Yeah. It's a question of maturity.
Right, but they're still kids.
They Yeah, they don't have the maturity yet to be able to put into practice what they can understand intellectually or even understand on an emotional level when they're not hijacked.
Right. 8 and 10 is still pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like, even myself, when I get hijacked, when I get upset, I can't, it's difficult to apply all of these things that I've learned, and I'm an adult.
Yeah. 100%.
Gosh, it's hard to remember that.
So I think, just to start to wrap up, and we'll check in with you in a few weeks, but I think a couple of things just to highlight. One is to pull back on your intensity in how you want to support her when she's upset. It might look a lot lighter. The amount of support that T responds to, what L needs might be a lot lighter in terms of your participation. Just to knowing that you're there without too many words might be all that she needs, and she needs maybe just a little bit of distance. You know
Mm.
what we're saying, like the equivalent of not staring into someone's eyes when they're having an emotional breakdown. And also that she is so sensitive, it picks up on your feelings. So make sure that when you are doing a repair with her, you've taken care of yourself first, and you're not sort of looking for forgiveness from her, which I know we is really important to us as parents, that we do want to make sure that our children know that we love them and that we are sorry, but really just maybe just do a little bit more caretaking of yourself before that repair. And also just to remind yourself that she does seem to have still some way to go in terms of being able to regulate herself when she's upset, whether it's because she's so sensitive and she has more soft spots than the average bear, and I think that what we've sort of narrowed in on is that maybe there was a little bit of an expectation gap that you had.
Most definitely. Gosh, it's such a hard habit not to. It's such a hard habit to break, of taking what you know with one child and not automatically applying that to the other child.
Yeah, super hard.
It must be a lifetime of work. Really. Like, they're so different, but maybe it's because they're the same sex. I think, like, well, it worked for you. You're a girl, which is a terrible trap to fall into.
I mean, now you're shining a light on something that was unconscious before.
Yeah.
And now you're becoming conscious of this, and that's when you can start to it'll be easier to do something different once you're conscious of why you were doing it.
Yes. Still a lot of work. I feel like it
Yeah.
feels like starting over, really. But it can't be, because there's the common ground of leading with empathy and just support. It's just a different kind
You're
of
you're
support.
just toning it down a little bit.
Yep.
You're just toning it down a little bit because it was maybe just too intense for her.
Yep.
And also, you know what you don't have to tone down? What's in your heart.
Yeah.
You just, talk less, be a smaller presence, but in your heart, you can be giving the exact same amount of empathy and compassion for her when she's having a hard time.
Oh, it's like radiating it out instead of talking it out. So it's coming. It's just,
Hmm.
it's like sending out the vibes instead of the words.
You got it. All right. Well, we'll check in a few weeks and see how this worked out.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, Julia. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Sarah.
So, how has it been? Catch us up.
Things have been better, sort of. They have been the same in that, I mean, it's not like, magically after talking to you, like, things changed for her. as is, I think, generally the case, like they changed for me in how I was approaching things. I've thought a lot about what we talked about, and I have just had to I feel like my approach when Elle is having a hard time has become almost robotic, in that that's at least how I'm thinking about it, in that I have just kind of turned off my talking, and I've turned off my, trying to help her and support her in the way that I used to do it. So now I just kind of am there physically by her, near her when she's upset, and it's helped dramatically.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's very foreign and very challenging for me not to say anything, not to comfort her. And I know that it must be that my presence is comforting her and that's helping her, but the way that I'm used to showing that, so it feels very weird, really, to me.
Well, hopefully it's her responding well is giving you positive reinforcement that it's the right
Yes,
thing to do for
yes,
her, right?
yes,
Like it might not be what you want, it might not be what T likes when she
yes,
gets upset, but
yes,
you're adjusting your response to this particular child that
yes,
you have and what she
yes.
needs.
It's interesting. She's had a couple outbursts this week. I think it was probably after school, which would be kind of par for the course, I think, with most kids. Can't even remember specifically what it was. Probably something around food. She got really upset about something, and I just kind of kept continuing, like making the snack. Didn't say anything, didn't react, like I said, kind of like in my mind, kind of robotic, right? Like just kept the task at hand. And she totally on her own stopped and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, mommy, if that was rude, if that
Wow.
sounded rude." And the interesting thing is that I actually don't care that she apologized to me. Like that's not, and not that I don't care, but it's not something that's really important. Like we never force apologies. We don't do that. So I'm taking that personally as a step in the right direction. I'm hoping that we can get her making repairs with her sister, because that's where the big, what's the word?
Fireworks?
Yes, that's where the fireworks. And I mean, I know, like, it's a sibling relationships, or I mean, they're siblings. They generally
Mhm.
get along, but it's yeah, that's where the stress is, I guess I would say.
Well, what that pause that she gave herself tells me is it's a step towards self-regulation.
Yeah,
When she kind of drew herself back together and thought about how she had reacted and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, mommy. Like, I'm
yeah.
sorry for shouting," or whatever it was she had done, which is huge. And I'm just sort of pondering over what could have made that change. And I don't know. What do you think it was? What do you think that it is about you not sort of doing your heavy empathy thing that made her be able to stop and pause?
I honestly, I don't know, because it's so, it's not the way that I work. It's not the way that her older sister works. So, I mean, maybe it's just, I mean, I think maybe she feels like I'm forcing, my empathy, or forcing kind of her dealing with emotions, if I'm kind of trying to, you know, traditionally, I guess you could say, support her. So maybe this way it just allows her to do it herself. And I mean, it is important, I think, for me to remember that she is an incredibly sensitive and caring person. So it's not like it's all there, but she just has to do it on her. She has to be able to do it on her own. I guess she doesn't have to do it on her own, but I need to give her the space to do it on her own.
Yeah, I think that's key. I think it's like she's so sensitive that maybe even you're like empathizing with her felt like just too much emotion in the mix,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
possibly.
I think it does. It's interesting, as I've kind of changed my approach, I guess is the best way to say it. As I've changed my approach with her since we last spoke, she's come to me, and I guess you could say she was telling me that she didn't think the way that I was doing something with her and her sister was very fair. She thought that I was praising her sister more than her. And I was absolutely flabbergasted, because so we had been in the local park, and they had both been roller skating, and I was apparently praising T more than L. And that night at bedtime, L said to me, Mommy, I think that you're praising T too much. You need to praise me. And I thought, like, that's amazing that she understands, she feels jealous. She understands where the jealousy is coming from. She can articulate it. She feels comfortable sharing that with me. I mean, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if my kind of changed approach has allowed her more space. I mean, I don't know, I'm taking it as a win either
Yeah,
way.
no, I mean, even it's very insightful for an 8-year-old
Yes.
to, have that awareness instead of just lashing out about it or something.
Yes, which is what makes her so it can be quite confounding, because here's this kid who has this amazing, like, laser insight sometimes, and then other times, she's just 8 and upset.
Totally. Yeah, and so just to be clear, when you say robotic, it's not that just to be clear for people listening, because I think I know what you mean. It's not that you're not feeling for her. You're just not
Yeah,
overtly expressing the feelings.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Like,
keeping it all inside because she's so sensitive. When I express kind of concern for her on my face or with my words, then I think it just adds to the discomfort.
I think you're right. I think she's just probably one of those deep feelers, and more emotion adds to her fire.
Yeah. Yes, fire. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Because I just want to make it clear for anyone listening, I don't think this approach would be right for most children. I think for most children, we want to do exactly what you had been doing
Yeah.
and what you do with her sister, but it wasn't working for Elle. Like it was making her more intensely feeling and upset. She needed you to almost hold the space for her feelings without adding anything into the mix.
Yeah. Well, and what you said last time was that basically, yeah, I think you're right. Robotic is not the right way to frame that. It's that I have to kind of like send her my empathy and my caring and my support non-verbally. And that's, like I said last time, that's really challenging for me. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to kind of send out like my calming vibes, my, unflustered self, because that is what tends to, or what I've seen, in these past couple of weeks, it gives her the space to just process her own self and her own, 8-year-old emotions without having
Mhm.
to then feel uncomfortable about me.
Mhm. I love it. That's so great. Was there anything else that you wanted to update us on, or anything that you need a little bit more support around?
I wish someone could help me get better at special time. um, no, I mean, I would love some insight on how to have, I think I have to reframe it, not special time in the morning, but have the morning be kind of fun, because the morning is not, try it to have it not be stressful, because that's not fun for anybody. But, and while I think I've got it so it's not stressful, I just can't kind of see where to put those little pockets of fun and try and get laughter going, because I know that laughter is what relaxes and eases everybody.
I'm thinking about something that just popped into my mind, and I know you're not boiling pasta for breakfast, but I worked with a mom who used to do this. They did this, she was Italian and made pasta, I guess, a lot for dinner. And when the water was boiling, they would use that time to run around and laugh and have like goofy time with the kids, just that
Mm,
like short little time that was built into their routine. And I'm wondering if there's anything like that, something that's part of your morning that you could,
mm,
telling jokes at the breakfast table, or maybe it's not even that explicit. Maybe it's just you finding those little tiny micro moments in the morning for a hug or a smile or a unexpected
mm.
little squeeze or something like that.
That's probably a better place to start than trying to go for laughter, because that kind of can feel kind of forced,
Yeah,
like
no, you're
reading a
right.
list of like knock knock jokes or something. But
Yeah, yeah.
okay, the maybe moments for connection would be, is a better way to, an easier place to start, maybe,
Yes.
and then it can kind
Yeah.
of go from there. She quite craves that like the closeness, the physical hugging, like the kind of deep sensory input, I guess you could say. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, more hugs.
So maybe when she comes down in the morning or when you wake her up, whatever your routine is, you start with even my favorite trick when my daughter was little was I would give her a hug and then I would pretend my arms were stuck. And I'd be like, oh no, I'm frozen, and she would laugh and try and like get away. And I'm like, no, really, I can't let go. My arms are frozen. So even just something small like that combines a little bit of laughter with that physical contact that she likes.
Yep. Nope, that would be good. And that's much more doable than having a comedy routine in the morning.
Yeah. And I think where I was going with the pasta water boiling was just, it doesn't have to be very long. It
Yep.
can be with all of the kids or both of your kids, and that it doesn't have to be, okay, now it's time for special time. That works really well for some families, but it can be just sort of this moment that you grab in your routine was the
Yep.
sort of that what I got from the pasta water laughter time was just a minute in the night, a couple minutes or in the morning where you just try to connect.
Yep. Yeah, that feels much easier because then it doesn't feel like this thing that I have to do, and you can just take the opportunity where it presents itself.
Yes.
That's much
Yes.
more manageable for me.
And when we're busy, we have to do that. And if we think, oh, we have to do 15 minutes of special time with each child every morning, then we do nothing, right? Because sometimes it's just not possible. But if we think setting the bar low for those micro moments of connection, you can do that.
Yes. I like the micro moments.
And it could be like, tell me about your dream, or, you tell some funny dream you had, or, something like that.
That sounds good. That's a good way to add it in. Get the
Good.
mornings going better. Yeah.
Good. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I hope that you'll keep me posted about how things go with Elle. And I just in closing, I want to highlight something that you said, which was that you're not going to change the kid that you have, right? That that's a big thing that I think that we have to realize as parents, that some of us have more intense kids than either our other child or our nieces or nephews or whatever. And that it's all about what we're bringing and how we can work with the child that we've been given.
Yep. It's hard to remember that, but
It is.
Especially when you have two kids that are the same gender. It's really hard to remember that. But yeah, I've noticed a huge difference in reframing my expectations, I guess, and what works.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's even trickier when your older child is the one that's more easygoing, because then the younger one comes as a little bit of a shock.
Yes. Painful shock, but yes. Well worth it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Julia.
Thanks, Sarah.
I hope you liked that episode with Julia. Again, I really encourage you to join us for the reset that's starting April 11th. It's free. It's going to be really easy for you to implement some of these strategies that we have put together for you to get a reset and to sort of, push the rewind and play button again if things are feeling hard. So join us at sararosensweet.com/reset. If this is already over by the time you're listening to this, you can also go there to get on a wait list to be notified the next time we run this reset. I'll see you inside the reset. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I hope you found this conversation insightful and exactly what you needed in this moment. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Remember that I'm rooting for you. I see you out there showing up for your kids and doing the best you can. Sending hugs over the airwaves today. Hang in there. You've got this.